Good afternoon and welcome to City of Prescott Virtual Town Hall Meeting for Youth. I want to thank everyone who's participating by Zoom or by phone. I'm Mayor Greg Mingarelli and fortunate to be a part of this town hall today. The goal for today is to provide information from local experts and leaders to help our community navigate through this uncertain time. We'll also hear from young people who are leaders, students who have firsthand seen how this health emergency has affected them. I want to thank our panel speakers today. Additionally, I'd like to recognize city staff for working on these virtual town hall meetings. Martha Baden is hosting and Ruthie Hewitt is co-hosting, and so appreciate their help, as well as Chelsea Walton. Also want to thank our American Sign Language interpreters for helping make this an accessible meeting today as well. This is an important town hall for me personally because I have 5 children in our local public schools, 5th grade through 12th grade. Sheridan probably has been impacted the most. She's my 17-year-old who's a senior in high school this year, and it's a tremendous impact on students who, particularly our seniors, who had hoped to have prom and graduate, and we'll talk more about some of those activities, I'm certain, later in this town hall. There are some silver linings. I have had more time with my kids than I have had in the past in the evenings and even different parts of the day, and we've been outside doing a lot of fun activities, learning lots of new card games, and spending some quality time together. So there are some silver linings, but we do want to hear from our students today to kind of hear directly from them what are those impacts. So I look forward to hearing from them. Our host is going to provide some background and information for today's call. Martha?
All right. Here's some ground rules for today's meeting. All participants will be muted on entry and will stay muted throughout the duration of the call. Only speakers, our presenters today, will be unmuted, and when I announce them to speak or answer questions. We ask that you do not use your video option just to prevent with bandwidth issues. Documents shared by the speaker will be on the screen during the presentations, and this meeting will be recorded as a video, which will be posted later today on the City of Prescott COVID-19 page, along with the documents and important contact information. Next, I'd like to talk about the question and answer time. If you'll please hold your questions until after all of the speakers are finished, that will allow us to sort through them appropriately. Questions should be submitted via the Zoom chat box, which you can access at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Questions will be taken by the host in the order received, but please do wait to submit your questions until all speakers are finished. We have limited the time following presentations, so we request that you keep your questions concise and under 1 minute. Oh, and also, to ask a question, please enter the following in the chat box, and this all needs to go in one chat box. Enter your name and your affiliation. Tell us who the question is directed to. Enter the question, and the host will read your question. For those of you who have a hearing loss, in order to see the ASL interpreters today, please change your view to gallery view and select Hide Non-Video Participants. Then you can use your slide bar to make each of the ASL interpreters larger. We will try to get through all your questions. However, if we miss you, you will have the opportunity to send an email to city staff, and they will promptly reply to your question. And that email address is communications@prescott-az.gov. Mayor?
Thank you so much, Martha. Appreciate all that. Well, before we hear from our assigned speakers today, I want to mention that we have additional resource persons on our call today. We have Leah Sikovich. She's with the Northern Arizona Council of Governments. We also have Erin Mayberry, who's with Yavapai Big Brothers, Big Sisters. So both Leah and Erin will have their contact information available for you. They'll be on the town hall during Q&A. So if you have a question for either Leah or Erin, please feel free to ask them later in our town hall. Where we're going to get started with our speakers. Our first speaker is Leslie Horton. Leslie is the Director of Yavapai County Community Health Services. She has a wealth of information for us today in regard to our youth here in Yavapai County. She's done a tremendous job helping us navigate our COVID-19 health crisis here in the county, and I have tremendous respect for Leslie. So Leslie's going to come and share with us.
Thank you very much, and thank you to our mayor for holding this town hall. I think it is on a very important topic. As you know, you see me oftentimes sharing information about COVID-19, how it relates to us in terms of our case volumes, of the numbers that we're seeing, and how it affects us in a physical sense. However, there is a lot that has been adjusted for our lives in terms of our children being at home, like the mayor just mentioned. Our children are at home. Some people are not working as much and are at home more often. Some of us are working, and our children are forced to be with others who can care for them, or sometimes on their own. And so we just need to take a moment today, and I appreciate all of you coming out to listen, to talk about how our children and our youth might be affected by this, and what can we do to continuously engage them and help them to get through this in a healthful way, both mentally and physically. And how can we take this to turn around and make our families a stronger unit, as well as give our kids some new skills that they haven't had the opportunity to learn before. So, you know, one of the things that I've enjoyed about having my kids out of school and available more often is that we get the chance to get outside and enjoy this beautiful weather and hike and bike ride and do all of these things that are so good for us. And I hope that the other families out there are able to do that. I'll also share some ideas of things and tips on how to, both for youth and our children to do, as well as us as parents or grandparents to help our kids through this time. One of those things that's especially important is to reassure our children that our families are a top priority. So many things are going on around us at this time, both on the news, social media. We all have stressors due to careers and work and or lack thereof. And so it's important that our children understand that they are a priority to us during this time. Try as much as possible to maintain your family routine. And that's kind of tough when our routines are very different right now than usual, but you can have regular waking times, regular going to bed times, and making sure that those routines are reinforced to your children. I know a lot of teens and youngsters do they thrive under routine, and some have a lot of difficulty when you take them out of a known routine, especially if it's varying day to day. Make sure that there's plenty of interesting things to do at home. And I noticed that my kids are prone to wanting to be on screens a lot. And so if you can introduce things like games, puzzles, books, other things that can keep kids' minds occupied but off of screens, those are really important. Also, setting up outdoor games can be really helpful, things that they can do out in the yard that might even be yard chores or chores within the house. But getting them outside is really helpful for them during this time. We are often able to call out behavior we don't like in our kids. And one thing that I'd like to reinforce to you is to reinforce the good behaviors that you notice. If you notice things that you like that you see, whether it's doing chores, whether it's being polite, saying please and thank you and things like that, please reinforce those behaviors in your kids. And for you kids and teens out there, you can do the same for your parents. Sometimes we get caught up in our day-to-day, and reinforcing the things that you like to see in your parents can be very helpful to us as well. Make sure that your child knows when you're ready to talk. And so if you have times that are better to talk to your kids, make sure that you make them aware that you want to give them your time, your energy, and making sure that you're able to devote your full attention to them when there's no screens on, when you can answer their questions in an age-appropriate way. So making sure that you have active discussions about what's going on in their lives, how your family plans on handling the adversity and the difficulties coming your way, as well as how you plan to enjoy times together. There are great things to talk about during this time. You can, really have some actively engaged conversations without having those other distractions and screens on at the time. Sometimes dinner is a great time to do that. But also be truthful in answering kids' questions. They do have a lot of questions right now, and it's important that we answer that as truthfully as possible. There's some great resources out there for information on what's happening in our world, what's true, and what's added drama based on the media that we see. Obviously, in Yavapai County, our situation is still serious. However, it's not nearly the situation that they're seeing in some other counties across our state, as well as across the nation. And so it's important to be able to answer questions in a way that's truthful, that's accurate. And if you need places to go for information, you can always go to our yavapai.us website or to the CDC or other reputable sources for information. And then another good tip is to really, truly, as parents, take care of yourselves as best you can. It sets a really good example to our kids if we're being healthful, both physically and mentally, and making time to take care of ourselves during this time is very important. You can incorporate your kids into that time, and sometimes it's good for us to spend time separately from our kids, and same for our kids to spend time separately from us in order to be healthful and balanced. And then another tip is to reach out and connect with loved ones. It's really important during this time that we check in with those that we care about. And, I've heard some really creative things like parents and kids reaching out to the grandparents and even using FaceTime or Skype or other options to read a book together, or have the children read to the grandparents, or vice versa. And so there's a lot of things that we can do to connect with others and have good conversations about what's going on in their world, how they're coping with it, and make some plans for future gatherings. So those are some things that are really healthful for us to do. Those are things that we can really place some emphasis on to stay healthy and balanced. There's also some things I'd like to bring up, though, that are important things to be aware of that may be some red flags. And as a health educator for many years, I taught about substance abuse, tobacco use, and other things that could be really detrimental to our children and our youth. And one thing currently that really seems to be a bigger problem than we were even aware of is vaping. And vaping is one of those things that our teens have become very good at hiding, and it's very detrimental. Vaping oftentimes, it's tobacco, but oftentimes it's also marijuana. And there's clothing products and all kinds of devices now made to hide vape products. And it's very hard to tell or smell on someone if they're using it, unlike tobacco. One thing we're finding with COVID-19 is that if people, especially young people, have used vape products on a regular basis, they're more prone to complications with COVID-19. It's a problem for more than just that, and we need to make sure that our kids understand what we expect out of them, but also have open conversations about who in their social circles are utilizing drugs or alcohol or vape products, and talk to them about why it's important to you that they don't use those products. There's also some things to be more aware of in terms of harder drugs in our communities, and we've had families suffer recently with loss of teens and loss of loved ones due to both meth and fentanyl or other pills. And one of those, sadly, a family lost their loved one and their daughter in Prescott Valley recently, and it breaks my heart to know that there's still people out there who are preying on our youth with things like fentanyl pills. Meth is catastrophic to the health and well-being of our youth and our adults. And so talk to your kids about these things. Find out if they know people who are using these, if they know who the dealers are, those kind of things, and talk to them about why it's important to you that they stay healthy and don't dabble in those kind of things that could be so hurtful to them. Look for things in their room, such as tinfoil, spoons, those things that otherwise wouldn't be in their rooms if they're, if they're not utilizing some of those products and drugs that require those for use. And so look through their rooms once in a while. Kids, talk to your friends about this stuff too. So quickly, you can see people who are otherwise healthy and thriving fall into the wrong circle of friends and get caught up in these kind of things. And so make sure that you're talking to your kids, talk to your friends, and make sure that they're staying healthy, understanding what, even as a friend, you expect of them and why it's important to not participate in those kind of things. We have some great things going on in the community. Matt Force is doing a video contest as well as a poster contest right now. You can go to mattforce.org, and the deadline is April 30th. This is a great way to engage our kids in coloring and or shooting a video for anti-drug abuse. The rules are on the website. We are also running virtual gardening classes through PUSD, and those are online and can be viewable for kids to teach them how to garden, teach them that it's important to be outside. You can grow your own fruits and vegetables and things that are healthful for your family. And there's all kinds of great things that you can get involved in right now. We have the time, the ability to participate in these things with our kids, and the ability to really learn some skills that you would like to pass on to them as parents. And so I hope that all of you are able to take some of what I've said and put it to good use. I'll also be here to answer questions later, but I appreciate that you're here to listen to our other experts on what they've got to share today. So thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Leslie, for all of that. It's very, very helpful information. And like Leslie mentioned, we'll take questions. If you have questions for Leslie, we'll do that after all the speakers have had a chance to speak today. All right, our next speaker is Madison Jackson. Madison is a Student Governing Board Representative and Prescott Area Leadership 2020 Youth Leader of the Year. Her father is a Prescott firefighter who drives our fire truck in the parade. They call it the Frog, but that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But anyway, I get to hang out with Madison in many of the parades we have here in Prescott, and she's a tremendous leader. We're fortunate to have her today on our panel. So welcome, Madison.
Good afternoon. I'm glad to be able to join this meeting and speak on behalf of my fellow seniors today. It is important to acknowledge that seniors left PHS on March 6th for spring break, and they weren't expecting that would be their last time to be on campus. This meant that they were going to be leaving friends, teachers, and the familiarity that we had grown accustomed to for the past 4 years. Ironically, we are the class of 2020, and yet we do not have a 2020 vision for what will happen in the next few months for senior ceremonies. The administration is doing their best to plan tentatively for graduation ceremony in the late summer or early fall, as well as the 22nd. Personally, do not want to graduate from high school when they've already started a new chapter of life in college. So they are really anxious that COVID conditions will begin to improve soon. Class of 2020 is resilient, and we're stronger than ever because of this pandemic. We are staying connected with each other on social media and with other seniors across Arizona that are experiencing the exact same thing. We are working hard towards scholarships, upcoming AP exams, and our high school classes. Teachers are working with us to complete our assignments and giving us one-on-one attention if we are struggling and reaching out. PHS advisors are also reminding seniors to send out scholarships with deadlines. The hardest part, perhaps, I believe, is that we are facing a new version of senioritis. With the incentives of senior year still being uncertain, there is not a transition from the end of high school into summer. And because of that, we love the support that is overflowing from our community. And I encourage members of the community to reach out to a senior that they might know, because we need an affirmation right now more than ever. The PUSD administration has already encouraged our class by giving the field lights on Bill Shepherd's Fields to light up at 8:20 every night until May 22nd as a tribute to what we are experiencing. Senior yard signs have also been donated by Sir Speedy through the USC Education Foundation to honor every senior by having banners throughout the town. Seniors can be adopted on Facebook, and this is an amazing testament to our community-based town, which is absolutely incredible for what we're going through. We are managing the best we can, along with everyone in the city, to adapt to these changes by continuing to learn and finish high school. This obstacle does not impede us for our next chapter in life, but it is still disappointing. Hopefully, prom and graduation will still happen by the end of summer or early August. Every senior student appreciates the support of the city, and I thank you for letting me be a part of this call and be my seniors today. Thank you.
Madison, thank you so much for being on the panel and for those words. I'm encouraged just hearing you talk about making the most of this difficult situation. So I applaud you. You're doing a tremendous job, and thank you for those words. Next, we have Tessa Dunn, who's the chair of the City of Prescott Youth Advisory Board. Tessa, welcome to the town hall.
Hi, thank you. And thank you everybody for being here and for having me. So this pandemic is a very difficult situation, particularly for the youth, and we're all facing our challenges. However, as Madison was saying, the class of 2020 is facing some of the greatest challenges. They are potentially missing out on some major high school milestones, such as their senior prom, graduation, and their last semester with a lot of their friends. So although they may get those events later in the summer, they won't be able to get this time back with all of their friends. And they're also not able to properly prepare before going off to college. I know that a lot of seniors use this time to ensure that they have their scholarships and their housing and everything all set before going off to college next fall, but they're missing out on this time because of the COVID-19 pandemic. They also have to say goodbye to their friends and teachers too early. As Madison was saying, the day that we left before spring break, we were not prepared for that to be our final goodbye. I am only a junior, but I was not prepared to say goodbye to my senior friends right before we left for spring break. So it is unfortunate that that time was cut so short for us. Students in general are also experiencing challenges because of adjusting to online school and learning. We have gotten used to learning in a classroom setting over the last 4 years, so learning to self-motivate, prioritize, and really just use our time as best as we can and still learn the material to the best of our abilities has been a challenge that we have had to adapt to. I have also been dealing with some personal struggles, such as not being able to see the non-family people that I love. It has been very difficult not to be able to go to school during the week and laugh with all my friends and say hi to them and really just enjoy our time together. And it's also been difficult to not be able to go into work on the weekends and to spend that time with my coworkers and those people whom I've formed bonds with over the last year and a half because my job has closed, I'm furloughed. So it's been difficult for me to find ways to spend my time and still feel like I'm being productive without really leaving the house to go to school or to work. So because of this, I have been engaging in a lot of experimental baking, hiking, spending a lot of time with my family, really just trying to find ways to use up that time and still feel like I'm using it wisely. So although this has been very challenging for us and there have been a lot of new challenges to overcome, it seems like every day, students will be able to use these experiences in future online classes, most likely in college, which will hopefully make them more proficient and more used to that sort of learning environment, which I think is great. And as Madison was saying, we have also developed a greater sense of togetherness. High school students from all around the country have been coming together to honor the class of 2020, which I think is absolutely beautiful, and it really just helps show that we are remembering them during this time. This has essentially been
Hey, Tessa?
So this has given us a chance to slow down. Yes,
Hey,
yes, they
Tessa?
can.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. We're having a little bit of trouble with the audio. You cut out there a couple sentences ago, if you don't mind backing up. And then because the internet connection maybe is not great, just slow down just a little bit, and that may help us understand what you're saying here as you finish up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No worries. Thank you for letting me know. But as I was saying, this has given us the chance to slow down and to just recognize that life has more to offer than the constant hustle. I know that as a student, I'm a very goal-oriented person, but this has shown me that there is more to life than crossing off to-do lists or stressing about school or even focusing on my obligations at work. And this has also given us more time to appreciate our families and to spend quality time with them. I've been spending a lot more time with my nephew and my parents, whom I don't normally get to spend a lot of time with, even though we do live in the same house. So although COVID-19 has presented my generation with many challenges, it has taught us to appreciate everything that we have and not to take anything for granted, whether it's school, our friends, our time together with the people we love, our jobs, or even just our normal routine. My hope is that when we come out of this, we will continue to cherish every moment and opportunity given to us. Thank you.
Tessa, thank you for that, and thanks for having a positive outlook on this whole situation and looking for those silver linings, those good things that can come out of this difficult situation. Thank you for your words, and both Madison and Tessa will be available for questions at the end. All right, we're going to move on to our next speaker, Joe Howard, who's the superintendent for Prescott Unified School District. Joe, it's been a while since I've seen you. Welcome to the town hall.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Nice to see your face briefly there. And how's my connection?
We can hear you quite well. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I want to appreciate you for hosting us today. And Greg, please know that you and your family have been in our hearts in a big way. Thanks also to our speakers this morning for really laying out the ways to work with our families and each other during this time. Tessa, Maddie, great to hear from you. Thanks for being incredible leaders during this time. We will certainly remember you for that. Hey, we're honored in PUSD to play a really important role during this time, and we're shifting our motto to every child, every day, everywhere. And maybe you've heard that out there, but we're talking about continuing high levels of teaching and learning by meeting our students and families where they're at, whether that's in their living rooms or kitchens or in their homes, just like many of you are right now. And even though life is different for everyone right now, things are going very well in PUSD with our distance learning. We feel like we've hit a good stride at a pace with our classroom Zoom meetings and our Google Classroom instruction and much more. We know that there are students and families with extra challenges during this time, and we're focusing a lot of our work on helping with those specific situations. I can't give enough kudos to our teachers and our staff and our students and those families. Our teachers just hit the ground running like they knew, they just kind of knew we were going to have to operate in a different way, and they did that. So we're very proud of that. But it's a conundrum as we learn how to do this. A couple examples, we have a technology infrastructure and devices that we kind of had in place prior to the COVID. And so we're grateful for that and that our community has supported us in that. We've checked out over 300 Chromebooks to our families in PUSD. We also had distance learning platforms in place that we were using prior to the closures, especially at the high school level, such as Google Classroom. That's been key for us. And one challenge has been really kind of pushing it down to K through 8. We've created a detailed K-12 distance learning plan that explains our teaching and learning system in detail while we're away from school. It gives responsibilities and expectations and tips for not only students, but also teachers and parents. This is right on the front of our website, and is certainly available hard copy to folks. But it's worth a look at www.prescottschools.com, especially if you're feeling frustrated or you're not sure if you're doing things the right way in terms of your distance learning. That's a guide for everyone. We also put out a document to define a flexible grading parameter for all grade levels to meet the various needs of our students at this time. That can also be found on our website at prescottschools.com. Since, again, we have students and families with lots of different circumstances right now, the fourth quarter is an overall hold harmless situation, although we expect students to make every effort possible to continue their learning, as we are making every effort possible to continue our teaching. We're in that situation, like in many, many areas of our lives, where we have to sort of stop and hold harmless where we're at right now. So one example of that is high school students may choose a pass or fail, or they can take their actual earned grade for the fourth quarter. So there's some flexibility there. We're just asking and working hard to get every student to work with us and do the online distance learning. And if they're not able to do that, then we do flag them for remediation, or there's an incomplete, so that we can make sure they get that learning no matter what happens, or we can catch up with them when we do get back into person. But just like in-person school, it takes a great amount of resources to meet all the different needs of our students and families. So we do have to work situationally, and we remind everyone who's listening and all of our students and parents, if you need anything, or if you know someone who's struggling, please just reach out to your teacher, your principal, or myself. We'll make sure that your needs are being met. My email is joe.howard@prescottschools.com, and I've offered this many, many times. Email me and let me know if your needs aren't being met. We will find a way to do that. We're serving around 3,000 to-go meals per week on weekends, and continuing our Hungry Kids program, feeding on the weekends. If I missaid that, we're serving around 3,000 on the weekdays, and then we continue Hungry Kids feeding on the weekends. There are lots of community efforts to help feed people too. So if you're not sure about that, or you need help, get a hold of us, and we'll put you in contact with our Family Resource Center, or some of the many resources going on in our community now. We're communicating with staff and parents several times a week via email and Facebook, as well as we're surveying parents and families in the near future to find out how we can improve our support in any way. As Maddie said, graduation's a big concern for everyone. We're working with our PUSD or our PHS seniors on the best ways to celebrate that and the traditions that surround it. And we'll be communicating largely with the public on that. We know that May 22nd, when graduation was originally scheduled, we'll be having a virtual celebration on video. We're working on that now. It will not be commencement, but it will be a recognition. And then at some point, likely early August, we hope to see the typical nearly 5,000 people at Bill Shepherd football field at Prescott High School as the sun sets over Thumb Butte and PHS graduation. We know this is an important time for our seniors and also for our community. This is an event where the community shows up and packs the stadium. So when we're able to come together, we will be doing that. Maddie mentioned our field lights go on at the Bill Shepherd Prescott High School football field at 2020 military time every night for 20 minutes until May 22nd to honor the class of 2020. You'll be seeing yard signs in every senior's yard. Thank you to Danielle from Sir Speedy for donating 300 yard signs for our PHS seniors through our PUSD Education Foundation. Unbelievable support from our community. Cap and gown pickup on April 30th. Seniors are going to be picking up their cap and gowns and dropping off books and uniforms, etc. There'll be a similar drop off for other high school students in ensuing days. And we're collaborating with Leslie and the health department to ensure safe social distancing. We have collaborated with Leslie and the health department many times, especially with distributing food, and Leslie has been unbelievably supportive. We have an Adopt a Senior program on Facebook. Sign up and join in with that, please. And you'll be seeing various banners around town. But just to wrap up, like so often, we could not do the work we do without the incredible support of our community. If I had to be stuck in quarantine or a tough situation like this, I cannot imagine being anywhere else but Prescott, Arizona. And thank you, Mayor, and all of our Prescott community for stepping up. I'm honored to be a citizen here in Prescott.
Joe, thank you for all that you're doing. I remember you and I talking right after spring break on that weekend, not sure what was going to happen, and ever since that point all the way through this, you and your team have done a tremendous job leading our schools through this difficult time. There's so many different ways. I want to say thank you to you and all the folks at PUSD. I thank the folks who were handing out meals yesterday. My wife and I stopped over at Lincoln and picked up some meals there, and what a tremendous service that is. And please pass on our thanks to all those folks behind the scene that are working so hard to make this happen. And teachers have done a tremendous job. You're right. I have a couple Chromebooks from the time you guys allowed us to bring them home in our home, and it makes a tremendous difference. So thanks for your flexibility and your leadership. You've done a tremendous job. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our next speaker, Stan Goligoski, Executive Director for Yavapai County Education Service. Stan is going to give us a broader view of what's going on with education in the county. Stan, welcome to the town hall.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate it, and I thank you for your leadership. Keep on moving this community forward. I'm watching a lot of our leaders do the same. It's just a tremendous to be a part of all this. I'm going to cover some areas that just haven't been covered already. We collaborate a lot with the county health department, with Leslie, with Joe, with all the superintendents. And in every case, nobody is not nobody's shirking their duties. Let's just put it that way. And it really are keeping this community moving forward. Some of the areas that haven't been covered, Joe touched on a little bit, and that was the food distribution for lunch and breakfast at our schools. Please remember that any student, regardless if you attend PUSD, if you don't go to the public schools, if your family needs a meal, they're going to serve you. So please remember that. We have partnered with Manzanita Outreach, which is out of the Verde Valley, and they are expanding their food distribution out into the western part of Yavapai County. Yesterday, we served the communities from Skull Valley all the way down to Congress with food boxes. And these are significant food boxes with whole frozen chickens, cartons of eggs, milk, fruits, vegetables, very, very sizable amounts of food in these boxes. And if you have a larger family, they'll even give you multiple boxes. On Wednesday night at Prescott High School, for the first time, we handed out over 300 boxes, and that is going to be a continuous operation. Again, that's at Prescott High School from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock every Wednesday evening. Just roll through the north end of the high school parking lots. There's signs, the directions are very self-explanatory, tons of volunteers there, and then they will just ensure that your trunk is empty enough for the box to be put in, and then you just roll through. This is an interesting time. It's not a matter of if you can't get the food. We're seeing a lot more people just come through the line because we're being told, to stay out of the stores, distance yourself, and people are really heeding that. So this is a way for you to just not even get out of your car. Someone will load a box in the back of your trunk and you'll be on your way. Again, this is every week. We will continue to serve the outlying communities every week through the schools to our seniors, to any family that needs that. So that will be a continuous thing. In each one of the boxes, there are resources in there. They're postcards, if you will, from our various mental health clinics with lines to or phone numbers to warm lines. So there are resources even in there. I know that we had the town hall last week that covered mental health, so I won't expand on that, but know that those are also in the boxes. And also, if you just stay up to date with your school's website, our schools are continuously updating them. Not only they're sending out blasts through emails, through phone, through text message, but they're also updating their websites on a regular basis just to keep everybody informed and encouraged. One of the other things that we've done when we knew that we were going to go to this more distance learning and knew that we were going to have to increase the capacity for families to be able to even get online, we did establish through many of the networks, through Sparklight, through Verizon, and such, that there are hotspots, Wi-Fi hotspots located throughout the county, and many of them are here in Prescott. This was an initiative started by our schools in conjunction with the Yavapai College, and Yavapai College has even put in all of their parking lots Wi-Fi hotspots as well. At first, we weren't sure really who would use that. Even if it was one family that used that, that would suffice. But the networks have the ability to see who actually has connected, and there actually are a lot more connections than we even fathomed. So we know they're getting used. So I'm going to put in the chat right now an interactive map that you can just click on, and you can zoom into any one of the locations, and it'll tell you exactly where the hotspot is throughout the area. So that is in there now. One last thing is, if you, for hotspots and connections, if you want it in your home, Sparklight has a package that's $10 a month, just for students. It's not known to the general public, but if you contact Sparklight and ask for the student package, they will recognize that. And again, that's $10 a month, and they will connect you if you are in a Sparklight service location. Also, if you are with many of the network providers such as Verizon, if you contact them, they will increase your plan if you have a limited plan, specifically on your phone's hotspot. If you have that capability, they are in some cases doubling your capacity or unlimiting it right off the bat at no charge. So that will increase your capability. And that's about all the information that I have.
Hey, Stan, thank you so much for being on the town hall today and for that information. We appreciate all that you guys are doing here for the county in regards to education and especially taking care of these families during this difficult time. So appreciate all your efforts. Thank you. Our final speaker for the day is Courtney Osterfeld with the Launchpad Teen Center. Courtney's been on the front lines helping out students and families during this difficult time. And Courtney, thanks so much for being on the town hall today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here. I'm so impressed with what everybody's doing and all the great information that you all have shared. And Madison and Tessa, just thank you so much for sharing your insight and that firsthand perspective of what it's like to be a young person right now in our community with everything that's happening. And so one thing I want to do today is just share some information about things to watch out for as our teens' lives have totally moved online. And then also share some of the resources that the Launchpad is offering to try to support families out there. So first and foremost, I think the Launchpad has always really valued unplugged time and not being online. However, in this moment, as everybody has moved their schooling online, their family connections even online, I can't stress enough that social media in the appropriate way is so important for teen development. Part of what the teenage brain is doing is it's learning to connect with peers outside of the family to identify or to build a strong identity and to hopefully eventually launch into happy, healthy community members. And as we are social distancing physically, social media is, and the phone, et cetera, video chats, all of that is a way for teens to sort of fulfill that developmental need. So that can feel so unpopular opinion maybe amongst adults, but it does present an awesome opportunity. And so this is a great chance for parents and adults to sit down with the teens in your life that you care about and to go through their phone with them, to have a conversation about the content that they are viewing and how they present themselves online. It's important for you to know that if you go to the Explore page as an adult, if you look at their Explore page on Instagram or Facebook, you'll get to see everything that populates there is based off of posts that your teens have liked in the past. So you'll get a feel for what kind of content your teen is regularly engaging with. And you can have fun conversations and have them explain some of the memes that they follow and all of that. It is important to set boundaries around social media. 24/7 social media is not healthy for anybody. And so perhaps your family could set a certain hour or two a day that everyone in the family puts their phones away, puts them in a drawer. And you can even host a family, competition around who has the least amount of screen time for the week. And it's also important to remind your teens not to post anything that they wouldn't say themselves in person. We always say at the Launchpad, if you wouldn't want your grandparents to see it, don't post it. And also, if they wouldn't want a college admissions officer to see it, not to post it. So another thing to be really conscientious of right now is that there are a lot of dating sites like Tinder, Grindr, Bumble, Hinge, Coffee Meets Bagel, and OkCupid. These are very popular dating apps, and they do require a minimum age of 18. However, it is really easy, and it's also very common to lie about age on those apps. And so it's important for you as a parent, I encourage you to just do a quick Google search to familiarize yourself with the app icons so you can quickly recognize concerning apps. And then if your teen has one of those apps on their phone, it's not a time for punishment, but it's a time for conversation. What are they looking for in that app? Are they looking for connection? Are they looking for attention? Stuff like that. And above all else, honesty is the best policy. And so having open and honest communications with your teens about who they are interacting with online and what they are posting and engaging with and how social media makes them feel emotionally is so important. So as the Launchpad Teen Center, what are we doing to help provide opportunities for teens to connect right now is that we have moved all of our programming online, and they've shared the page that I sent them up here. So every day at 2 o'clock, there is a free online program. And sometimes the programs are just a conversation held by our youth leaders about what's going on with with COVID-19 and what it's like to be a teen in social distancing. We also have an open mic or a talent show on Tuesdays. And one of the cool things that we've been doing is trying to connect our teens with other community members. So for example, next week we have a cooking lesson where the chefs at Hawk and Hound Catering are teaching teens through Zoom how to make gnocchi. And to help some of our low-income families, what we've been doing every week is for the cooking lesson, we deliver a box of ingredients that has all of the things that those teens will need to cook a meal for their family that day and to learn how to do it themselves. That program's been really popular. It's really fun. Teens love to learn to cook. We also have conversations around self-confidence and D&D online. And then most importantly right now, one of the most important services that we're offering is free tutoring. It can be really hard. Joe kind of touched on this to suddenly go from being in school to doing all of your learning online. And so we have some amazing trained tutors, and we can, they've all been trained and background checked, and we can pair teens with an appropriate tutor for them on all subject areas. So if those are things that you are interested in taking advantage of, people can get all this information and all the links to access the Zoom programming on our website, which is www.thelaunchpadteencenter.org. You can also just text the day of the week to the number that's on the screen right there, the 833-862-0178. It's a texting service. So if you text Wednesday to that number, a link will get automatically sent back to you to sign up for the Wednesday program. And that just about covers everything that I have to say. I think in closing, I just want to encourage parents to be conscientious of how anxiety producing and stressful this can be for teens right now, and just to create a space to have dialogue about how everybody's feeling and what teens need. And I know Leslie did a great job of talking about setting boundaries around those conversations and creating space for good emotional literacy. And that's all I have for today.
Courtney, thank you so much for that presentation. Great helps for kids in our community with what you're doing here. I did notice on a post, I think today, that you are also delivering resources out to families in need as well, and I appreciate you doing that. So thanks for all your work in the community. Tremendous job. Well, we're going to go to questions. So if you want to ask a question, you can go ahead and start doing that in the chat box. And I'm going to ask Martha to just quickly review the Q&A procedure.
Okay, just as a reminder, questions should be submitted in the chat box at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We'll take them in the order they are received, and we have limited the time so that we request you keep your questions concise and under 1 minute. And finally, be sure to enter your name and affiliation, tell us who the question is directed to, and enter the question all in the same chat box so they don't get separated. All right. Let's see, our first question today is from Jill Metcalf at Mission Church, and she's wondering how we can, and this question maybe Leslie and Mayor, you all could field first, how we can help children and families at risk who are not having or providing parental supervision most of the day within our community. At least while they were in school, they were supervised.
All right, well, this is Leslie Horton, and I can try to answer that. That's a really difficult question. It's very hard to supervise when you're not there. However, there are things that, such as what Courtney mentioned, some of those ways of really, especially opening dialogue with your kids about what they're doing during the day, maybe setting up some routine for them where you have expectations of what's going to be accomplished during the day while you're gone, and then checking in on, especially on screens and other ways of checking screen time, talking to them about what's going on in social media as well if they're allowed to do those things during the day. On times where my own children are home alone, there's definite requirements of what will be accomplished during that time. And then check up afterwards to make sure that those things were accomplished, as well as the schoolwork. I think PUSD and some of the other school districts are doing an incredible job of assigning plenty of learning opportunities for the kids during the times that they're home. And so really, as a parent, it's important to follow up, look at their grades online, and make sure that there's adequate things for children to do. There's a lot of resources available as well, and the YMCA and others are still watching children during this time. And so if there's, even if it's a couple days a week, having someone interacting with your kids depending on their age, making sure it's age appropriate, or even having some accountability by neighbors or others that can check in on them might be really good ideas too.
Yeah, I like that idea of having possibly a neighborhood group, Leslie, maybe a retired neighbor that's a few doors down that can check in to see how things are going throughout the day. What about Courtney? Could we unmute Courtney there? Courtney, do you have any thoughts on this question?
I mean, so I definitely think setting aside a schedule for your teen with some accountability. So waking up at the typical time that you would normally wake up throughout the day, and then having chores and things to hold them accountable to, and regularly checking in. The other thing that we've been doing at the Launchpad is for some of our teens who we know are really isolated and spending a lot of time alone, we've been doing curbside check-ins where we deliver a cheer package and some activities and resources, food assistance, etc. But most importantly, it's an opportunity for us to kind of get eyes on the teen and to make sure that everything's okay. So naturally, through those curbside check-ins, we've also had other volunteers who live in those neighborhoods offer to just check in on teens and touch base physically by ringing the doorbell and, you know, saying hello through a screen door and stuff.
Very good. Thank you for that, Courtney. I appreciate that. Let's move on to the next question.
This question is from Carol Lewis, and she's wondering, Courtney, how she can get some of the links you mentioned. Courtney, if you don't mind sending those to me in the chat, I'll repost them for everyone, and they'll appear in your Zoom chat.
Great, I will do that.
Thank you. Okay, and the next question is from Joanne Schaffer, and Joanne is wondering where someone would go if they would like to volunteer to help, for instance, delivering food. And let's see, I believe, Joe, you spoke to this in part. Would you like to answer that one?
Yeah, definitely. We, like I said, we're handing out around 3,000 meals a week at Lincoln School and at Prescott High School from 10 to 1 every day. We're handing out sack lunches and breakfasts for anyone under 18 free. So, you know, a car can come and pick up, you know, enough for the whole family. So to Joe Chauffeur, our good friend and supporter for many, many, many years, and anyone else who's interested in helping, yes, we have volunteers who are going to the schools and helping hand out food. And of course, there are some restrictions around that in terms of social distancing that we've gotten a lot of help from Leslie and the health department on. So, Joe, you can reach out to me directly, or anyone who's interested can email me at joe.howard@prescottschools.com, and we will get you going. Every day we're doing it. So we'd be happy to have your help. There are lots of logistics around that.
Thanks, Joe. Stan, did you have anything to add to that?
Absolutely. Joe, if you'd like to just be at the Prescott High School every Wednesday night around 4 o'clock, they sure could use volunteers. There were plenty last week. But you know, I'm sure their timing is limited as well, but I know that you could probably bring a lot more people with you too, just knowing you, Joe. And you can reach out to me anytime. There will be other opportunities as we serve the rest of the communities, the outlying areas as well. So just contact me anytime.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Stan. Our next question is from Hillary Scott. She's a local parent and wants to compliment Courtney on the awesome teen programs, but would also like to know more about social development connection opportunities for younger students too. Perhaps one of our experts who's on the line, Erin, from Big Brothers Big Sisters, would you like to speak to that?
Hello, can you hear me?
We sure can.
Well, thank you for having me on. Yes, we at Big Brothers Big Sisters have been working really hard on making sure that we also have resources available to everybody in Prescott and as well as Yavapai County. So if you go onto our website at azbigs.org, you can click on our resource guide. And in there has resource connections for food, for any kind of support that you might need. There's a lot of information about what's going on and how kids can connect with their school districts. And also we are working on we have had hundreds of board games that have been delivered to us, donated to us. So if anybody's in need of board games, I know that Leslie and Joe were speaking about having kids out there that need stuff to do. And that is a great resource. If anybody's interested in that, please reach out to us and let us know if you need any of those things.
Very good. Aaron, this is Greg Mingarelli. Aaron, thank you for that. You know, with this question, great question about, you know, kids a little bit younger where maybe Launchpad is not reaching the younger kids so much. I would offer a couple of things. One, I know for my younger kids with PUSD, there's a lot of interaction through the online meetings that they're doing, which has been very helpful for my social kids to see their friends online and their teacher. Brings them a lot of comfort to see their teacher online, and so that's been helpful. And then the other thing I would say is the faith-based community has programs out there, again, all video-based online. But again, my kids are plugged into some of those programs through the church, and that could be another helpful way to get connection, during this time when there's not a lot going on. So I hope those things are helpful. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions from our viewers? We have a few more minutes.
All right. Well, Martha, thank you so much for handling that Q&A. We have a little bit of time left here to just run back through everybody real quick and give our panelists one last quick shot before we close here. So we'll start with Madison. Do you have some final words for us, Madison?
I think the one thing I would like to say is that the community pulling together during this time has been amazing, and that's really what gives seniors a sense of community and hope. If kids aren't getting it at their homes, they're getting it from the community, and it's really important to have that affirmation in our lives. So I appreciate that, and I love to see that support.
On our panel. Thanks for being on our panel today, Madison. Thank you. All right, let's go to Tessa. Tessa, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. There's been a lot of great information shared today. Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Just
Can
remember
you hear me?
yes, we can hear you. Just speak a little slower just because I think the connection is not so great. Thank you.
Yeah, so there was a lot of great information today, and I think that this really just showcases how well this community is handling everything that's going on, and I really just think that it's beautiful how well we're all working together. So just thank you, and I hope that in the meantime we'll be there for each other and we can do whatever we can to help each other.
Thank you, Tessa. Thank you and Madison for your student leadership out there. You guys are doing a great job. Joe Howard.
Yes, sir. Just want to thank all these leaders in the room here today in the chat room. We can't do it without you. This is the most supportive community ever. If you can find another one that's more supportive, call me up. I don't believe you. The challenges that we have ahead are challenges that we don't yet know and understand. And that can be scary if you're in it alone. But that's the work that we all do. Everyone on this discussion, that's the work we do as leaders. We take people into the unknown, and we prepare kids and we prepare people for an unknown future. But as I said earlier, we cannot do that alone. We can only do it with community and teamwork. And so I know we still have a lot of question marks ahead, and there's a lot of unanswered questions. And I can't go to sleep at night thinking I got to do that myself. But I can when I get off of a chat like this with all of these leaders and people who are caring about our community and our kids and our future. And I know that together in Prescott, we're going to figure this out. So I want to just thank everyone for your continued support and your continued leadership. And we will figure this out together.
Thank you, Joe. Stan Goligoski.
Yes, we're here for anybody. If you need anything, that goes with everybody on our leadership panel. You know how to contact me. I've listened to a lot that's been said, and there's some wheels that are already turning. So we'll tackle some of the challenges to help out in any way that we can. I look at the calendar, and this is the weekend that the Whiskey Off-Road was supposed to occur. And it's a beautiful, beautiful day today. Supposed to be tomorrow. I know there have been tons of people here in the town, and so just to commemorate that time, I encourage everybody to get out there on their bikes, out there on the hiking trails. I know Greg, you'd be out there. Joe, you'll be out there. Courtney, you'll be out there. I mean, I just know this community, and I'm sure you'll be living it up. But obviously, practice your social distancing. But it's a beautiful time to be out.
Thank you, Stan. Courtney, do you have a parting word for us?
Yes, well, one thing I forgot to mention was that the Launchpad has launched all of their summer camps for registration. So something to look forward to. Hopefully summertime and being able to get back out together is my hope. So just to know that, and we'll be partnering with NACOG to do some stuff and offer our teens some opportunities. But on a parting note, I just want to say that if you have any concerns or needs, and you want to talk through some of the challenges that you're going through with your teens, just give us a call. You can just call me at 928-632-2996. All of that information is on our website. We've been talking to parents, and sometimes if you're doing this by yourself, you're a single parent, or you don't have somebody to collaborate with, it's just can be helpful to talk to somebody about the challenges that you might be having with a teen. We might be able to offer you some resources. And then the last thing I want to say is that I'm just so remarkably grateful. I know everybody's saying this, and it's just really true. Prescott's a unique place. I can't believe how much support we're seeing pour out for all of our youth in this town. And so thank you to everybody who's listening in for everything you've done to support the young people here in Prescott.
Thank you, Courtney. Thanks for your work. I appreciate that. I will conclude these comments with Leslie Horton.
All right, thank you so much. And I just want to say a special thank you to our Mayor, Greg Mangarelli. It's extraordinary to have these opportunities to reach populations through venues like this with town hall meetings. And he and I have been on the radio a lot lately, trying to really reinforce these positive messages that we're going to get through this. This is something that is temporary in our lives, and yet it gives us an opportunity to really come together as a community. This is a great example. Every person on the phone today has been an extraordinary leader in this community, and you know, it's great to see people reaching out to make sure that we're wrapping care around those who need it most. And you know, it's important to understand within our communities, there's some youth right now that are really well cared for, both by their families, those resources that have been mentioned today, and then there are youth that have kind of fallen off the grid with this. There's youth that are working full time right now to support their families. And it's very important that we as a community seek out those individuals who are maybe showing signs of isolation or showing signs of just kind of falling off of social media or posting some things that are concerning, and reach out to them and try to connect them in a way that they're not already connected. I think that's very important, is that we as a community, as friends, as families, show that we care for those who maybe are seeing less social connection through media or otherwise showing those red flags. So just, you know, do your part, reach out, be a friend to people who need a friend right now. And then parents, you've heard a lot of great things today in ways of talking to your kids and the resources available to them. But don't be afraid to talk to your kids about difficult subjects. If you get into something that you see online that is a red flag, that those dating sites mentioned are important things to look at, the other things I mentioned about substance abuse and other things, if you see things in their social media or even in their friends' social media that concern you, open that conversation up and talk about it. Talk about it in a way that invites conversation, not necessarily telling your kids just what you think, but finding out what they think as well is really important. And so, you know, you can build some avenues of conversation now that you've never had before. And as things start to free up over the summer and that we have more freedoms and kids are getting out more and adults are getting out more, you can maintain some of these good things that you can start now in terms of those conversations and coming together for dinners and other things that are great ways of engaging your children now that can carry over into the future. And so remember, like was mentioned a minute ago, there's going to be summer camps. I'm getting letters from the camps as to how they're going to provide a safe environment for your kids. Think about, you know, ways of getting them involved in those. And then get outside. Make sure that you're laughing often with your kids. It's important. And then talk about things that are not about COVID-19 or health or other things. You know, talk about the things that they're into. Talk about things that are fun for you. it's a great way to get to know each other in a different way than we've ever had the opportunity before. So thank you for being involved today, for taking the time out to both of your teen or a kid, you know, taking time to think about ways to get connected, and parents and those who serve kids, thank you for taking this time out to think about ways that we can engage our kids better and make them grow healthier and stronger as they're developing. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you so much for your leadership here in the county. Well, I just want to say I'm inspired today. I'm inspired by every speaker here and the leadership that we have in our city and our county, and I hope you're inspired as well. We are going to get through this together, and I want to pledge to Madison and to all the seniors out there that when we can have a graduation, it's going to be the most amazing graduation you've ever seen. We will put whatever city resources we need to help PUSD make graduation extra special for you guys, and I look forward to that day. So want to just thank everyone for attending. Want to thank all of our speakers. That concludes our virtual town hall meeting today. Some great information. Want to thank Martha and Ruthie and Chelsea for being here helping us behind the scenes. We're going to keep Prescott together and keep moving forward, and I appreciate all of you helping us do that. This video will be posted on the City of Prescott website, prescott-az.gov /COVID-19, along with any documents that were shared today. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.